All right, guys, it is official. I have a brand new obsession, and that is Ableton Live's Max for Live devices. So in this series, I'm going to be teaching it so that I can learn how to create my own Max for Live devices. So Drew from Ado Sounds was getting me pumped, and just kind of sparked this indirectly through our conversation. So we're in Ableton Live 12, and what we're going to do is first go to the website called cycling74.com/downloads. I'll leave a link below so you guys can grab it. You need Max first. Okay, it's called Max 9 in this case. Okay, so nobody explained that before, so you need this first. Download it for either Mac or PC. I'm on a Mac. Okay, so once you have that downloaded, then install it, everything, and it should have this little icon that looks like this little triangle icon. All right, now let's go back to Ableton Live, and to activate it, we have to go back to the arrangement window. But before we start opening up the Max for Live thing, let's get some audio going so we can manipulate the audio. So let's go to samples, and let's go to loop under type, go to loop, and then we're going to sort by hip hop as genre. So I recommend you guys start with something that's like very lightweight. You don't want to use a weird audio. Okay. So from here, we're just going to set a loop. So let's go to the top. Make sure you hit this loop icon. So the reason this is important is because when we make changes in the Max for Live, we want to actually hear it in real time. So next, we are going to delete these extra channels, tracks, and let's turn this down. All right, so now we have all the setup. Let's add the Max for Live. So on the left side in the browser in Ableton, click this and then go to where it says Max for Live. And there's 3 different options. You have Max Audio Effect, which means we can manipulate this conga loop. We could do Max Instrument, which generates its own sounds. Or you could do a Max MIDI effect, which is basically if I hit a key, it could do different stuff like play octaves or do different stuff with the MIDI. So let's double click where it says Max Audio Effect. So in the tutorials you guys might watch, they say to click this little icon. For me, that doesn't work. So click these little 3 dots and go to Edit in Max. This will open up the Max program and allow us to edit this specific process. So think of Max for Live similar to FL Studio's Patcher. It will make more sense if you think of it in that way. So one tip I recommend you guys do is highlight this little group. I don't know how. Let me zoom in a little bit. So one thing I recommend you guys do is highlight this group and right click and just group these objects, because you don't want to have to move one thing at a time. It just takes forever. So just highlight this, right click, group objects. So now we can move this as a whole unit. So it's easier to move stuff around. All right. So with that understood, you guys see where it says device vertical limit. This means anything below this won't visually show up in Ableton's audio rack area. Okay. Effect rack. So basically they're just telling you, here's the maximum height for your device. Okay. So anything in this dark gray, we'll see. Anything in the light gray, we won't see. So we can use this to our advantage, and I'll show you how. So audio, the same way in FL Studio's Patcher, audio goes from the left ear to the left. It goes left ear in to left ear out. So if I hit play in Ableton and I open up Max again, and then I just click on this cable and just remove it from the left side, all we hear is the right side. And then vice versa. If I click on this right cable, remove the right signal, now we hear the left side. So stereo is a combination of left and right. Okay, that's what creates stereo. So basically we can insert something in this flow. We can insert something in this flow. There's no other word for it. And basically create different effects. So today we're going to copy the effect I was taught first, and then I'll show you guys how to do other effects. Now, again, I only know a couple effects because I still have to learn what they call objects. Long story short, click this little icon that says object in the top left. Okay. And it will open up this little blank box. So this blank box is trying to call up different functions, I'll call them. I don't know the exact name for it, but basically different purposes. So let's load up something called the low res. I think he told me to load up. Okay. So type in LORES. Okay. And he said, if you hit space, it tells you what arguments are. Now they don't describe what arguments are. Arguments, when you run a function, arguments are the inputs to the said function. So for example, if your function says like, hello, first name, welcome to, bankofamerica.com. Well, the first argument you have to pass the function is the first name. So in this case, it might be, hello, Carlin, welcome to bankofamerica.com. So that's what an argument is, and you could have multiple arguments. Okay, so I'm generalizing here, but That's what these represent. Now, every object does not always have this function where you can hit space and it tells you all this detail. So I'm just letting you guys know now because I was confused as well. So now that we have this thing called low res open, we need to give it certain values. So basically we're going to hit space and then it's formatted kind of weirdly. So if you're used to coding like Python coding, which we have a course at busyworksbeats.com/premium, you'll understand that you put a comma in between different arguments so that the computer knows to separate two ideas. Here, you don't put commas, so it's something to get used to. So in this case, it's asking for the cutoff filter and the resonance number. So let's say we're going to set the filter to 1000 in this case, okay? And let's say the resonance in this case is you have to choose a value between 0 and 1. I'll show you guys how to correct all this. So let's just do 0.2, something small. Do not put 1 or you will blow your eardrums off. Don't put 1, okay? If you put anything above 0.5, I'm warning you. So what can we do? So remember, here's the audio from Ableton. So now if I take this left cable, if I click on it and then remove it, I should be able to put it into the left input or the signal input of this filter. Okay, now if you kind of hover over it, it tells you here's the signal output. So most of these are mono. Now what this means is if I remove the right ear, we basically added a filter to the left ear. Okay, and I can lower the filter by lowering this first number. Now this, I'm going to show you guys an easier way to do this, but I'm just showing you guys what it's doing. So if I lower this number, it becomes more and more low pass filtered. Okay. Now, if I take away these cables, because this is basically just signal flow. Oh no, that was an accident. That's why you gotta be careful. All right. So here, click on the cable. You could just hit delete to get rid of cables. All right. So now basically, again, if I delete these cables and I just have the left going to the left output, this is the untampered with audio. Same way it would be in Patcher. So even though this has a cable, it's not connected to any inputs, so it's not doing anything. So what we're going to do here is duplicate this. So this is why I recommend you guys work in a group so you could just like move stuff around. Basically, we're going to hit Alt, I think it is, left click, and it will duplicate the same parameters. Okay, so now I can left click this left signal, run it through the filter, and then run the output of that to the left output, which is what we hear. We could do the same thing now for the right signal, switch it to the input of the filter, take the output of the filter, put it on the right side. So now we have a stereo filter. Now there are other ways we can handle this. I'm just showing you guys a very basic thing. You're like, okay, that's cool, but like, how do we like change the sound of the filter? Okay. So here I'm still learning this, so don't take this as gospel, but we can use these things called like objects. And we're going to use what's called the dial object here. And this is basically just a knob, the same way it would be in FL Studio, and knobs can control stuff. So by default, you see these little nodes around the knob. These are little cables that we can grab. Now, if you hover over the knob, or excuse me, over the node, it gives you a value. It says 0 to 127, which is basic velocity range, 0 to 127. But this node over here goes from 0 to -1. So we can change the values of these nodes. Basically, it's just creating a range, okay? So that when we turn the dial up and down, it goes between this number and a different number. So why would this be useful? It's because for a filter, you don't just have one set frequency. So we're gonna move this filter. We're gonna grab the value in the bottom left and drag it over top of these nodes. And if you read the node, it says cutoff frequency. So we're gonna do the same thing with this filter on the right side. So basically I have a knob controlling the cutoff frequency for the left and the right channel at the same exact time. Now to trigger the knob, we have to go to the bottom left where it says lock mode, and then we're allowed to turn this thing up and down, okay? When you're not in lock mode, it won't let you turn it up and down. So here's what we need to do. This is gonna become one of your best friends when you're using Max for Live, this little inspector tool. Click where it says inspector, and then now we can see stuff. So you want to go to where it says range, and I want my range to be from 0 frequency all the way to 20,000, which is like most filters go up that high, 20, 1, 2, 3. So again, it's kind of weird typing this stuff in because they don't use commas. Okay, so I don't know if periods is a separator here, but you got to get used to not using commas. It's a weird format, but I'm getting used to it. All right, so then it tells you, do you want an initial value, meaning a starting point for your filter? So let's say yes, and then let's type in 20,000, which means basically the filter will be off. It will be completely open. All right, so let's lock this. And now we can hit play in Ableton. Now, if we move this dial, we should hear a filter sweep, which is what we hear. Now, if I go back the other way, we're going to lower the filter all the way down to 0 hertz in this case. Okay, so that's what we're doing with this low pass filter. Now I'm trying to learn how to code my own DSP. So that's what I'm trying to get into, which basically I'm trying to code my own one of these little blocks. So I don't know how to do that just yet, but God willing, he'll reveal his wisdom and I will be able to code my own little block because I have very cool ideas that I want to share with you guys. Okay, so now we have the filter cutoff taken care of. We need to also have a knob that represents the resonance. So let's hit Alt, drag this over. Now you got to be very careful. If you're a beginner, do not mess with the resonance. If you don't know what resonance is, you can turn this up and it will destroy your ears. Okay, so just don't do this step if you're a beginner and you have no idea what resonance is. Warning. So basically we have to go to the bottom right where there's a smaller range because again, we're not trying to go from 0 to 20,000. We're trying to go from, 0 to 1 in this case, which is preset inside of this filter. So let's left click where it says 0 to 1. And let's drag these over these little nodes like this. So now this knob is doing something completely different than the knob over here. This knob controls the resonance. Let's go over to the right side and set the range. So the range is going to be from 0 to 1. But just to be safe for this video, we're going to say 0.5. We don't want it to go above 0.5. Okay, so setting these numbers sometimes I've seen it get a little weird, so you might have to double tap. And again, we want to change this initial value to 0 in this case, meaning the resonance is off. For those who don't know what resonance is, it's just an EQ boost at the cutoff frequency. And if it's turned up too high, it can have self-oscillation, which creates a really high-pitched ringing that you don't want. Okay, so now let's turn this off. And I should be able to use this dial from 0. Now it looks like the range, this must be like an on-off switch. So this might not be what I thought it was. So let me read this for a second. Okay, so the small detail here is if we click on the second dial here, we have to change what's called the unit style to what's called a float. A float is basically a number with decimal points. By default, it was set to what's called an integer, and an integer is a whole number, like 0, 1, 2, like that. So when I was turning this knob, it only moves in increments of 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. But we want it to be 0.5, 0.7. So when you're using integers, it doesn't do that. So we're going to click here, go to float so that we can go to 0.3, 0.4 like that. Okay, so that's a little bit, when you learn coding, that will make more sense. All right, so basically now we can control the resonance, okay, as we listen back. So let's play this. So as I move the filter, I should be able to turn up the resonance and then hear the EQ exaggerated more. And that's what you start to hear that hollowed sound. That's what resonance is. That's why I said, don't put 1 in the value or you're going to blow your ears off. So I was surprised they showed us this is the first example, but hey, I'm showing you guys what I was shown. So there's the low pass filter and then here's the resonance, which is an EQ boost. So basically this is boosting that kick. All right, so we have our basic low pass filter, very basic. Now here's the cool part is the question now becomes, how do you use this in Ableton? Like to where you can actually use it. Nobody really explained that. I had to like Google it 1,000 times. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go back to where it says max. We're gonna unlock this screen and we're gonna drag all the messy stuff below the screen. So all this like junky math stuff, let's drag it down. And let's hit Control S so we can save this. And let's call this like YouTube 1 low pass filter and hit save. Now by default, if you're on Mac, you have to click this down arrow to see where they're saving this. So it saves it to our username, the music folder, Ableton, user library, presets, audio effects, Max. Okay, let's hit save. Now, if I X out of Max, we should be able to see a real plugin or excuse me, an audio effect unit, Max for Live device in the bottom left. But we can still see it says build your own effect here. So it has all these like artifacts that we don't want visually speaking. but everything works as planned. Okay, so the filter works. Now the question is, how do you load the filter? Nobody explained that either. So if you go into Ableton, you have to go not to where it says max for live. These are the presets by, I guess, Ableton. We want to scroll down to where it says user library. Okay, then go to where it says presets, then go to where it says audio effects. Then we're going to find max for live, or max audio effect, pardon me. And then here we can find our, where we just saved that, that file. So let's double click, and that's how you load up your own devices. But there's still one thing we need to fix, which is, and as we saw, it initialized at 20,000 Hertz as the cutoff filter. Basically open. So if I turn it on and off, now technically there's still resonance value, but okay. So the error now is that we see cables still, and we see this build your audio effect here. So what we're gonna have to do is click these three dots, go to edit to max. This will open this up. And what we need to do is remember where it says anything above this vertical line is basically shown in the device. So I still haven't figured out how to like make the device smaller or anything. I'm still learning with you guys, so don't take this as like an expert thing. But basically we're just gonna lower the text below that line. And then any cables you guys don't wanna see, you have to click on it. And then I think you hit Command K on Mac. And also you have to click on the knobs you want, and then right click and then add to what's called presentation mode. Okay, add to presentation mode. So basically anything with this pink box around it will then be shown on the actual device. Okay, so now if I go to lock mode, it will hide those cables because I hit Command K. Now I don't know if Command K unhides, so let's try it. Okay, so I don't know if presentation mode just turns that off, but I remember before I couldn't figure out how to get the cables to be hidden in presentation mode. So Command K did it for me. I don't know how to unhide these. So again, like I said, it's not an expert tutorial, but something to keep in mind. So now let's click lock mode, and then we're going to hit save. And now if I X out of here, we should see it in Ableton. And now we don't have those cables anymore. So all we got to do now to make this thing look decent is move the knobs to actually look presentable. And again, these are little minor details you guys can spend, you know, really correcting the visuals. I don't know if you can make these knobs bigger. Again, I'm still learning, so don't take this as like gospel. No idea how to make the knobs bigger, or if that's even a thing. So in this case, you might just use these little dots on the grid to help you guys align your stuff. All right, so I'll let you guys, you know, do all the little task type stuff. So now let's just save this one more time, and then X out of here. And then now these knobs have been repositioned. So now they're in the top left instead of the... All right, so I'm still exploring the different objects here. Don't take this as like the know-it-all video. So in the next video, I'll show you guys how I mess with compression, maybe saturation, but I'm still trying to figure out the better of the objects. All right, guys, so subscribe if you're new. Hopefully you learned something, and this is a whole rabbit hole, so I will be digging deep. If you guys are with it, just smash the like button, share with a friend. Peace.